the biggest mistake that we made and that most people make is thinking that they're supposed to make their spouse happy and manage their emotions. Here, I'm going to tell you something right now. It is not your job to make your spouse happy. Ever.
Go ahead, drop it in the comments.
Ever. I hope the thing clips this, but it is never your job to make your spouse actually happy and manage their emotions. Ever. It is not your job. It is their own job to make themselves happy. Mm-hmm. Happiness does not come from external things. It comes from inward. Now, is there things that you can do to be nice and caring? Sure. But
should we do those? Yes.
I am not put here to make her happy, and she is not put here to make me happy, and that is not what we try to do anymore. And we are happier than most of the world.
And here's the thing, is like, so people get this all twisted. Do we still do things for each other? Yes. But we do it because of love, like
and
because
we are.
It's an overflow. It's an overflow of who we are. And we do it out of love. It's not a fear base. And it's also not a selfish base of, hey, I'm doing this for you to get something in return. It's not, hey, I'm loving you so that therefore you don't leave me. Again, if that's a fear base, it is a pure genuineness of who we are. And most people operate out of fear in their relationship and a selfishness in their relationship because they are terrified that their spouse is going to leave and they're in this, I have to earn love and approval state. And that is not where we're supposed to operate from.
Hey, welcome back to the Marriage 2.0 podcast. So today we're actually going to be talking about intimacy, which is a super popular topic. Even though most people put communication, trust, affair-related stuff, all those topics as their number one, this specifically is the number one thing that they want.
Yes. They want that intimacy and they want to know, like, why does it fade? So today we're going to be addressing, like, why does intimacy fade? And here we're not talking just about sex, but we are talking about intimacy as a whole. The physical, the emotional, the safety, the friendship, the connection, like that desire to, hey, I want to share with you. Hey, I want to hang out with you. I want to just be with you. Because when one of these things start to fade, whether it be the physical or the friendship, the rest start tumbling down and they're not far behind either.
And I'll be honest with you, most people think that like if you just reignite this spark, somehow it's going to fix everything, but that's not true. You don't get intimacy by trying to have more intimacy. Like no. That's because intimacy isn't the problem, which we're going to help you understand the mistakes that people make today and like actually fixing this.
Yeah. So we're going to be sharing, and this isn't, so if you're new here, this is Tommy, I'm Desnekka, and we are marriage consultants. We are sharing from our own testimony, our own story, what we've walked through. This isn't theoretical. These are mistakes that we made as well. Now we consult couples all around the world who walk in the same mistakes. Like we see the mistakes and we help guide them out. So all of this stuff is not textbook information. This is real world examples. We lived it. We felt it, and we're here to teach you so that you can prevent these things.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not here being like, well, oh, here it says they need to do this on page 3, paragraph 2, whatever. Like that's not, we don't have degrees in this. We actually went to the real stuff in this, not the fake stuff. Mm-hmm. So we went to the real stuff in this, went to the school hard knocks, and we actually been through this. Not only that, but we've helped 500 plus couples around the world at this point with a 98% success rate that is tracked short and over long periods of time. So you are definitely in the right hands to be able to fix this issue.
And when intimacy fades, it's not just because like one person stopped trying. And really like the effort stopping isn't even the first part. Intimacy is already faded by the time someone has given up. When someone's finally hit that, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what I do. Like nothing changes. At that point, yes, like we've hit some major problems in the relationship, but intimacy started fading way before that. And it was so much more about what was going on under the surface to begin with. And today we're also going to be challenging some very common marriage advice about just spend more dates together, just spend more time, just express yourself more, because that's not fixing the root issues. And so here we're going to be challenging a lot of the bad advice because we don't want you sent astray. And we are going to be sharing because we don't want you to be hopeless. And so that's why we share our own story. Tommy and I made some of the dumbest mistakes. And so now we publicly declare all of our dumb mistakes and we're very vulnerable with you so that you can, one, realize that you're not abnormal, you're not alone, but more importantly, there is hope on this other side.
Yes, 100%.
So as we dive into this, I do want to clarify and specify because we're gonna be sharing about intimacy in different points. And so I don't want you as we're going through to be listening and going, well, Tommy just said this and she says this. Like they're not on the same page. And so here's the thing. In a marriage, you have his story, my story, and then the truths in between of what actually happened. But things are filtered through our lens. And so as we go back and we share about what broke and what faded the intimacy in our marriage and sharing our personal examples, you will hear different things because my lens is very different than Tommy's lens.
Yeah, but it's not. So here's the thing. We are on the same page now on what actually broke it. We're talking as if then on what we thought then, because I mean, let's be real. If we really knew what was the issue then we would have fixed it right away. Right. So this is all stuff that you've gone through realistically. This is stuff that we've actually been through. And so we're going to tell you what that actually looks like.
Yeah. I just didn't want you to be like, oh my gosh, they're so like, see, they don't. No, we are on the same page. We have understanding of what broke it now. But as we share what it was like then, you will hear different perspectives. So keep that in mind. And then also just know moving forward that you guys can be united and on this side that Tommy and I share from. And you do want to stay to the end because some of the biggest things that cause intimacy to fade, people really overlook and society has normalized and made acceptable. So you don't want to miss because these are all mistakes and things that cause division and that separation in marriage that you do not want.
Yep. So I'll just explain how I felt during all this process. For me, it was like, and this was in a lot of different areas, but for me in this specific area, I felt like no matter what I did literally to try to fix things, to try to reignite things, to try to make it better, it was like, at the end of the day, it was just pushing the intimacy and her, but like the intimacy further away between us and then her further away in the process. And then I just felt like I couldn't do anything right at the end of the day. And so we were building, even though we were trying to do things the right way, maybe not all the time, but a good chunk of the time, sometimes we were just being dumb. But like a lot of the times we were actually wanting connection. Like who gets together and gets married and doesn't want connection? And so we actually, obviously we're high school sweethearts. So we didn't just come from like just getting married the day before or something like that. Like it was actually something that we were wanting to keep connected and stay connected and build even more connection like most people would. But no matter what we did, no matter what I did, it was always pushing the walls, like building walls higher and higher and pushing her more and more away inevitably.
Yeah, and honestly, at the time, I felt like I was like, you're not even trying. I was like, it's so simple. And like, what are you doing? And so that just built resentment and hostility on my side, which caused more and more division, right? And so all of my bitterness and resentment would stack up. And when you have walls going up, like intimacy is going to go down. Yep. And so my bitterness and my resentment made me start to look at Tommy as a task, as a child, and as someone to manage and work. And when you're looking at your spouse with a lens of, hey, your work, you're a job, you're a child that I have to manage, that's not intimacy and connection. You're literally saying, hey, you're more workload. You're more effort for me. You're something else that I have to manage, and I already have so much on my plate.
Which was ironic because I didn't even write that on here, but it was like I would make these to-do lists and of things she told me to do. And you heard us kind of bring this a little bit up on the last podcast, but it applies here too. And I would do them, and these like, you should just want to do them. You're treating me like a to-do list, but it's like, it was like the same thing. And so like for me, my lens of her changed in a very negative way as well. Like, at the end of the day, I thought that, especially after certain things happened, I thought that she was just like, didn't care. I thought she was done. I thought that she just realistically just wanted to flirt with anyone and everything that breathed. And so at the time I did. And I didn't, realistically that was true. But like, the thing is like, I didn't have a good sight of her either, and both of our lens was extremely tainted in a very, very negative way. But we would go through more and more fights. It was constantly more and more, every fight, every step of things that weren't done the right way. All of the things don't just like go away with time. That's a mistake that people think that happens. It just sweeps under the rug and we'll do more, and then that'll outweigh the negative. And it's like people use this like cop out of like, oh, well, no marriage is perfect. No, but it isn't supposed to be garbage either. And so like, because most people that say that have garbage marriages, to be really honest with you, from my professional and expert experience.
Because they're using it as a justification to feel better about their marriage. And so like like no marriage is perfect. And like, so do Tommy and I disagree? Absolutely. But do we work through it? Absolutely. And do we work through it about this way? Yeah, pretty much, except for we look at each other versus like a camera. But outside of that, like our disagreements are conversations.
Yeah, most people, the problem is even the people that think that they're good, most people have experienced a cheeseburger from McDonald's good when they haven't really experienced a high-end steakhouse good. So they just don't realistically know what their relationship is actually capable of and what you're capable of in the relationship when you're doing this. But moving on. Another thing that like we'd go this endless cycles of emotional roller coasters, just ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And then my smart self back then, I would use, sex since we're talking about intimacy, as an actual reference point of, oh, we're doing well, we're having more of it, or we're having less of it. We must be doing. Guys, I'm gonna tell you.
Do not use sex as a reference point.
I'm gonna tell you that right now, especially because we're younger, so like obviously both of us still had desires and stuff, and so when it come down to it, like that never really stopped, but it didn't necessarily get healthy either. And so this is one area that don't use, if you're listening to this guy right now. Don't use this as a reference point. I promise you'll be mistakenly surprised when she just is out the door one day.
Yeah. So more doesn't mean better. That the relationship is good. I think because women have drives too, and then some women do shut down. Like, so it's not all women act this way and all men act this way.
I hate those things.
Yeah, I do too. It's like, no. And emotional intimacy 1,000% has impact on the physical intimacy. And even if you have physical intimacy, but the emotional isn't there, it's just an act. It's not the connection and the passion that it can be when you're connected in all ways.
Yeah. So I wanted more and more connection. She did too.
Yeah.
But like the thing was that at the end of the day, we were just pushing each other further and further away. And for me, I felt like because my identity was also tied to her in the relationship, I felt and vice versa in different ways. I felt like I was losing a part of me, which made me go into more and more spiral like at the end of the day, more and more of a spiral at the end of the day. And then that caused more and more problems. And then it just was this cycle of like hope, hopelessness, and hope and more hopelessness. And there's eventually more and more and more hopelessness. And eventually it did grow into hating each other.
Eventually I got there.
Yeah, we didn't start there clearly, or else we wouldn't have got married. But like the thing is like a lot of the people don't understand like, well, we're not there. Okay, cool. Well, you can be. Have no fear. Like you can get there. I promise. When it comes to that, it's not as hard as what you think. And so, and you're not as far as what you think from it. And so it can happen very quickly. And it happens also over a period of time where a lot of harsh events can happen in a very short period of time. And then you do grow to hate each other, and you do grow super bitter toward each other for a lot of different reasons. But we hated each other to the highest extent at one point. Like, I mean, not metaphorically, not kind of, literally. And even thought about ways to literally kill each other and get away with it, especially for her, for me. So that was super bad. And then we had the realistic.
That's not the answer. We are not condoning that type of behavior. There is a healthy way to fix it and keep your spouse and stay out of jail.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I felt like just a lot of despair and realistically a disappointment to her and the relationship. And honestly, it probably was, to be fair, for a lot of different really good reasons. But then also it was just, we weren't on the same page. We weren't connected. There was a lot of bitterness and resentment, a lot of loss of identity, just a lot of stuff that went on during this process.
So much so. And I would say from my side, one of the biggest things that I felt that caused the division and intimacy, and I hear this a lot from the ladies that I mentor, is they feel like that once they got married, things shifted. Like the pursuit stopped, the spouse stopped trying. And, it was like, well, everything they used to do, like they don't do no more. And I also experienced a lot of that. I just remember there was a season, shortly after we were married, and I was like, will you get off the bed? Like, will you get up? Will you do something? Get up. Like, let's, like what happened to all the things we used to do? I was like, get off your phone And the attention, the time, the effort, like I didn't feel like it was the same effort as in when he was dating. And so there's a lot of people who feel like there's a bait and switch and was like, oh, well, once they got married, they stopped. And I do. So marriage is not the finish line, okay? So marriage is a start, which means you still put in effort and pursuit and admiration and different things. But it wasn't just that that my lens was Tommy just stopped trying. Tommy pulled, like, he did the bait and switch. He stopped doing all the things that he'd said. And now he was like a lazy bum who wouldn't get out of bed. That was my current perspective at that time, and that is why like I started having resentment, and it just grew and grew and grew. But there was so much other things deeper going on with Tommy and myself that was actually playing into that I was so unaware. But on the surface, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, what I will say with this is people, like, even so I'm going to say tackle two different types of people here. First of all, people will make this mistake, just normal everyday people, in thinking that. And part of it's true. Like, yes, they did stop the pursuit. Yes, they did stop trying to woo the spouse, whatever you want to call it, right? But the thing is that was operating from a level of pursuit. But even if they were to keep that up, it would have just masked things. Because the issue isn't like that. You got to understand, like, you're missing the complete issue. Like, even experts and the other type of person that would give this advice is like, well, to keep the spark alive, just pursue your spouse all the time, get to know them, and cool, but like that's not actually going to fix the relationship. And don't click off this video. If you're humble, you'll stay on it when you hear this. If you're not, then you'll leave. If you're prideful. But the thing is like, when it comes down to these things, you got to understand at their core level, people are going to resort not to like what they know, but to who they are at their base level, to their base level person, not to their habits, to their base level. Habits are only a reflection of who they are. They're going to resort to who they are at their very, very, very core at the end of the day.
So, and when Tommy says who they are at the core, he doesn't mean who God designed them to be.
No.
He means their survival state, their survival chosen identity that life has programmed them to be. So all the things that you learn to survive and get attention through childhood, through school, from your first like relationships to get those friendships, to get the first job, all of those things, the way you learned, oh, if you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. Those sorts of things is formed your identity at the base level. And this is what you're operating from. Now, that is not God's given identity. Those are learned behaviors of what you've adopted.
Yeah. So realistically, the hardware, think about a computer analogy. The hardware on a computer is not the issue. The software that's programmed into it, part of it's not the issue because God programmed that. But the problem is all the viruses that have been put in on the computer and the things that are in there that are making it malfunction and defective. And so like, that's the actual issue. Here's the truth. Like, if you were to actually truly experience your spouse as a true healthy individual, 100% true healthy individual, I'm not talking physically, sure, that's part of it, but true, actual healthy individual, completely mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it, even getting all the demons out, all that type of stuff, like, you would fall immensely way more in love with that person than you've ever had. In fact, I would bet you $100 billion that you have never actually experienced your spouse truly.
And this is actually one of our favorite things working with our clients. So when we mentor, when they get to discover each other like truly for the first time, like who God designed them to be, and they get to discover that in their spouse, it is such a beautiful journey. And like we watch, obviously we mentor people, and you'll see them when they come in, they're like all divided, separated far apart as possible, like some glares, and then it's like, oh, like by the end, and it cracks me up. It's hilarious. And it's that, hey, like I get to experience who God designed you, which is amazing. Yeah. But Tommy, let's talk about the walls that we built areas in.
Yes, we're gonna talk about quite a few different areas. The first area that we built walls in was with emotional vulnerability. So we stopped sharing what we truly felt. We just stopped. We stopped sharing what we truly felt because at the end of the day, we would say things like, I'm fine. mainly her. Like I think that's kind of a woman thing. I would pick certain things that are women, but
No, man, I
regardless,
mean, men say it too because men are like, I'm not allowed to have emotions. And so they shove it down. And then women are like, well, it doesn't matter what I say. Or if I share that I'm upset, you're going to get mad. And so I might as well just say I'm fine so that you don't get mad. At least we're going to have a non yelling night as long as I say, like, I'm fine. I don't really have to be. And I would say that the emotional vulnerability is one of the first things to go because oftentimes while dating, there's a lot more like, oh, well, I'm going to be, more transparent, more openness. But even then, there's still reserve of stuff. Honestly, a lot of people have beliefs about vulnerability, that vulnerability is bad, vulnerability is weakness, that if you share things, it's going to be used as a weapon. And so those are really common.
And it was. I mean, realistically, it's not wrong to think that because, like, at the end of the day, like, if you're dealing with an unhealthy individual, which 99.999% of the people on the planet are, when it comes down to it, we're aiming to change that, especially with all the clients who've helped in us. But, like, when it comes down to it, we stopped sharing really much of anything. We stopped being vulnerable. We were on guard all the time. Vulnerability wasn't just felt like weakness, but it felt like pain. Like, it's like, okay, well, if I share, vulnerability equals pain is what it boiled down to. Like, if I share this, then they're going to either A, use it against me, or B, it's going to end up like causing a fight or an issue most likely, and then still use something against me, or they're going to get defensive. And then it's just like, you try to be vulnerable and you try to like get them to hear you and understand you, no matter if it's slow to speak, quick to listen, or if it's in an argument or yelling, whatever it is. The thing is like you end up not being truly heard and understood. And then you're like, at some point of enough repetitions, they're like, well, there's no point. It just ends up in the same place. And I end up irritated. So I may as well just avoid the issues altogether.
And I would say one thing that I think is so used against you, yes, but I would also say that there was a mockery. And, I will say that was from my end. If Tommy was vulnerable or sensitive, at that point, I didn't care because I was like, you are so much work for me. And it was a constant, like, I didn't feel like he helped me or loved me or was putting effort in. And so when he would share about how hurt he was or upset about something, I was like, suck it up. And I would mock him. And
well, we did for the record. So like when it comes, not that that's okay.
It's not.
But like in the essence of this, like you got to understand the full context of things. All these clips will be chopped up, I'm sure, to make me or her both look terrible. But like,
go ahead, tell me more what you think about me.
Yeah, like yeah, but it's whatever. It helps us get more views. So who cares? So at the end of the day, like, one thing you got to understand is like I was not leading effectively. I was not being I was not being a great husband. No. I was not being the man that God designed me to be. I was not leading my family, nor her, nor even myself, much less of my family or anything else. And so, when everything was all on her, that's a different story. Now, your situation may be different, but at the end of the day, you got to understand like that was ours. And so not only did she place her identity in like, other things other than what it should have been. And then that naturally, regardless of if I was doing everything right or not, would have built a lot of resentment. We see it all the time in women. It's the wrong priorities. They put themselves last, everyone else first, and they end up pouring from an empty cup. But on top of that, what happened was we got all the problems in our relationship that occurred too. And then I wasn't leading. So everything literally was on her shoulders financially and a lot of things too. So it wasn't just her.
And there obviously like those were choices that I made to step up to cover and all of that, but we're not talking about that part today, just the division. And so in this whole not being emotionally vulnerable, honestly, I just got to the point where I was like, there is no point in bringing anything up with him. If I do, one, he's not gonna understand. He's gonna go into this whole victim woe is me thing, and then it's gonna be, well, I just need to rub some dirt in it, and what about my feelings? And I was like, I don't care. At this point, like, I'm trying to talk about me, and I'm like, he's gonna get butthurt and angry, and he's gonna make a bunch of promises that he's not gonna follow through on. I was like, there is no point. And so that's where I got to on this emotional vulnerability. And so we do want to know if you relate, drop it in the comments what it's like. And there's no judgment here. We went through this. And so we understand what it's like to be in those situations, right?
Yep. So like another area that we would get like really kind of second area that we had issues in with this is like we build walls around our communication. So we realistically, we could talk about some things sometimes. I realize, but you're like, wow, you guys are bad. But like, I get it. But like most couples can talk about logistical stuff fine. But we could sometimes, I'll put it that way, without getting into a lot of just difficult arguments. So we, at one point, we could talk about either thing. I mean, heck, we could breathe wrong and just cause an argument, literally, and it did. And so, like, with this, we would keep conversation as surface level as possible. We'd be super guarded. We wouldn't be willing to share things that, like, maybe we had a difficult time with or had a, bad day or something like that. We didn't want to, like, bring those things up because it wasn't safe. Emotionally, like it realistically wasn't safe to bring things up because the conversations, they never ended up in a good place.
No, they did not. And it got to the point it was just like, well, I'm just going to pretty much give the shortest possible answer and walk away. If it deals with the kids, then, I'm just not even going to talk to him about it because, well, let's be real. I'm the one who deals with the kids anyways. If it's the house, I'm not talking to him. Well, if it's finances, I'm probably not going to talk to him. Well, I really don't have a reason to talk to him. And so we didn't talk much at all. And just if we did, it was short, snappy, and very disrespectful. And, and it got to that point. So this is not where our marriage started, but with the division, walls started going up. So it was just like answers started getting shorter and shorter. And then we stopped talking about this little topic or this detail and then this one. And it ended up being, well, hey, we're actually really not talking about anything. So we didn't start there, but that is where we got.
Yeah. Yeah, and so because a lot of the conversations ended in arguments, in fights and disagreements and all those things, and just like it wasn't like we were in a reaction for like a couple minutes. This was like sometimes even a month or more at a time. And so you got to remember, like, who wants to go through that long of everything feeling really awkward and thick in the room and just we wanted to do nothing but avoid each other. And so what we would do is avoid conversations altogether because and honestly, avoiding conversations or trying to have them back then, both was dumb. Like neither one would have actually like gone anywhere because we weren't addressing the root issues. And so the thing is like, no matter if we tried to talk about them and ended up fighting or avoid them, we were still the unhealthy people that we were. And so it would have never actually went anywhere. And so we just ended up avoiding the issues.
And so the third area that we built walls in that caused division and intimacy, which is super common, is building walls around areas of trust because there's been hurt. And if you're like, well, I've never broken trust with my spouse, like
you're lying.
Yes, there is a lie there because there is broken promises on both sides. There is broken trust, whether it's your word, whether it's you didn't follow through with something, whether there was a comparison, or full-blown affairs, right? Like all of that, hiding money financially or watching things, talking about your spouse to friends and family, like breaks trust too. So all of these things end up putting up division and walls and breaking trust. It's like, oh, and this would play into when we would break trust and talk about the relationship or each other, then of course it would really affect the communications. Like, well, I can't share with you because if I do, you're going to go share with everybody else. And so the walls got built up around our area of trust. And then, Tommy went super detective mode. I got to say I did too. Like it got to the point of we were checking phone logs and doing all kinds of things, tracking each other. Not a healthy place to be. And no, we don't do that anymore. Like that is not a part of our life.
I don't even know where my phone is half the time.
Yeah. But, and so do you have anything about becoming detective that you want to share?
Well, I mean, with the trust stuff, so you got to understand, we'll talk about affairs in a different podcast, but there was a lot of them. And there was a lot of mistrust. I mean, you got to understand affairs isn't the only thing that breaks trust. Like there was a lot of other, like we didn't feel safe around each other. There was a lot of things said, a lot of words, very, very hurtful words, what's hurt way worse than the affairs. You'd be surprised, but that's actually true if you've ever actually experienced affairs. And so like when it comes down to it, like we had a lot of trust and I did not trust her character at all, rightfully so. And like mine, shouldn't have trusted either. I mean, realistically, but like I would go into detective mode. We both did. I would say probably more of me though. And I would track her. I would go through her phone. I'd lay there awake at night, wait till she fell asleep, and then go through her phone. I put up like a hidden camera behind the bed one time just to see what, and I would lock her phone intentionally. So she had to unlock it to get in it to see it, and then I drugged her once to get into her phone. Like all these type.
I think we should specify on that one a little bit, but like, cause I was a real big drinker at the time, right? Like this is in my alcoholic days of full blown alcoholic. So those watching, yes, I was a full functioning alcoholic. And, so he brought me wine one night and he had put sleeping stuff in it. And so that it knocked me out. And then he got into my phone. And so I was like, what a.
When I say drug, she calls it drug, but it was
I do think that. I mean, he
like
knocked me out.
It's melatonin, but yeah.
It's still like, I mean, you talk about breaking trust when you find out that he put stuff in my drink to make me fall asleep. And I'm like, well, like that breaks a whole lot of trust a lot.
Yeah, because, I mean, you got to remember, like, back then we both slept pretty light because we were worried about someone getting to their phone. And then, like, there wasn't, like, I mean, we knew where our phones were at all times.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I swear she had, like, it glued to her butt, just
in my pocket.
In her pocket, like, just sitting there all the time. It never left.
I'll share something about broke the trust for me. Tommy, is it cool if we go ahead and talk about the tattoo?
Yeah.
Because that played a huge role into the intimacy for us. And so when we were younger, like we were, we hadn't been married terribly long, like a few years, but nothing terrible. And one of the promises that Tommy had made was when we were dating was he would never get a tattoo. And that was, I don't like tattoos. If you have a tattoo, cool. I can admire your tattoo and I can think it looks great on you. I don't like them and I didn't want them in my home. And so it was something I had talked about with Tommy about to be on the same page. And he was like, he's like, I'm good with that. I don't ever want a tattoo either. And it was something that we had agreed on before we got married. And so then one day he was like, I want a tattoo. And I told him, I was like, you promised that you would never get a tattoo. Like that was a promise you made to me before we got married. And then it was, well, it's what I want. And he did it. Like he went, and at the time when we didn't have finances for this type of stuff anyways, it's not a baby tattoo. Like it was an investment for a tattoo. And I think, of course, it's stupid because I don't like tattoos, right? But anyways, he went and did it anyways. And so it was an investment. It took the time, it took the resources, and all the things that I didn't feel like he was contributing to the relationship or me. So not only was he not contributing the resources or the time with me, those were given to the tattoo, but also the broken promise. And this for me was a big turning factor of your word means nothing. So this one promise, and it wasn't the so like the tattoo itself wasn't the thing. It was what it represented of his broken promise to me.
Yeah, because, what I would tell people is like, I did this, and people hang on to like moments in time that they think that like, oh, that was the reason that she went and cheated, or that was I used to say that. But the realistic fact of it is like, that was just a straw that broke the camel's back. Like it wasn't like it wasn't something that, it was just an additional thing. There was a lot of things that accumulated and people kind of attributed it to one specific event. It's like, no, that's not what it was.
Yeah. And then every fight after that was like, it's just because I got a tattoo. And I was like, you're not understanding. No, it's not. And there was deeper things because that wasn't where the intimacy started to have division. The intimacy had already started division way earlier with everything else. But that was a moment that really broke trust for me in our marriage.
Yep. So we can dive into a whole other podcast on trust because, man, that's a loaded one. But another thing is like the fourth area is we withdrew from physical affection. I wouldn't say like we didn't, like some people stopped for months or years or whatever. That wasn't us. We didn't really do that. I mean, we separated at different points. Sure, it wasn't happening then, but maybe not with each other. But but when it comes down to it, we withdrew affection. We stopped touching each other, stopped the affection, and it took me for longest to figure out what affection actually even meant.
I thought this ain't affection, okay? Like,
well, I thought affection was like, because I used to give her, and I still do, but it's like all the little notes and like coffee in the morning and different things like that, and like the little gifts. And don't go back to the love language stuff. Sure, that's cool, but like that's not what we're talking about. No. I just didn't understand what she meant for affection.
And so it was just like all the slow stuff like started to fade, right? So the hand holding, the hugging, the kissing, the everyday affection. You got to think, well, when we were dating, like we were teenagers. And so it was like we were known for PDAs. Like honestly, like pretty much everyone in our high school probably knew us as the couple with all the PDAs. And right, like it was just like that's what we were known for. And so when we pulled away from the actual connection and the touching and the cuddling and the snuggling, like those were big separations. And it ended up, being in bed where he's aboard on that side and I'm aboard on this side. And, at the time we were sleeping in a queen bed, which I don't know how couples do that. We have king now and it's the best.
I don't know why people get offended about that.
I still touch him in the king bed, okay?
I just like my space.
I know. And we roll over and anyways, but at the time in a queen bed, we made sure we did not touch each other. It's like, don't touch me. Like, and all of those sorts of things. And that caused a massive division in intimacy. So for me, I'm a very touchy person. Like I like touch. I love touch. You can hang on me. So I will randomly just go sit on Tommy, like to this day. Like I just did it last night. Like he's sitting there and I'm going to go sit on him. Why? Because I just love touch. And so for me, like this was a huge rejection and a slap in the face. And it caused more walls and division between me and Tommy of this, like even basics of hand holding and things like that.
It was a big reoccurring topic. And then, so for me, it didn't happen initially, obviously, but after a while and after all the affairs and after all those things, I withdrew so much that like, because then our marriage felt really tainted. She felt tainted and all those types of things. And so, for me, it was like my body, I at the time I couldn't explain it. I can now and I understand it. But like then it was like my body would go into like this like just sense of I need to get away from you. I need to get away from you. Like, and the thing is weird because my brain was like, I want to be connected with you and I want to hold you. But then like, I would just feel this inner desire to run away. It was like, it was like that sense where you're like, I'm being chased by a bear and I'm supposed to run. Right. And so that was kind of like that's the best way I can think of to describe it back then. But I just felt like I just wanted to escape. And I just, her touching me, just like, I just didn't want to be around her.
Yeah. It was like we would just pull away, or if he did try and like, it got to a point where he would try to like hold my hand or something. I would just and I would just pull away, right? It was both sides because of all of the hurt and pain. And what he just expressed, it's huge for you to realize because so many people take this feeling and they're like, oh, it's my spouse. And so I just need to end the marriage, get a divorce and move on. And it's no, just because you have those emotions and you're like, oh, well, I feel like that anxiety and that fear when I'm around my spouse. Yeah, it's because there's hurt and there's pain and there's walls. It's not, oh, you're bad and it's God telling me I shouldn't be with you or anything along those lines. Like those are lies. And it's feelings, it's your body. And this is why we would talk about reprogramming the brain and healing those wounds and healing and removing the walls. So just for record, because that's one of my pet peeves. But another area that we did end up building walls around causing division in the intimacy, which is really common, is around sexual intimacy. And so this is not necessarily what happened for us, but there are couples. And so if this is you, like this happens, there are couples that will go months, years without intimacy. Like it just stops.
I've seen a lot of people go years and years without it. And it's like, or months and it's just.
None of that's healthy, by the way. Men, women, like it's not healthy to do that.
Yeah.
But
we heard a professional one time say that it's a want, not a need. And I'm like, okay, if you're a paraplegic or something like that, an outlier in the situation, sure, we can play that role in place. But realistically, us as experts in this field, I will tell you that, and she will tell you the same thing, to have a healthy marriage, you have a healthy sex life. It should be there. Like if it's not a healthy marriage.
We're not saying a lustful marriage a lustful sex life or a lustful desire or one where you're just a body or used or, it doesn't matter what you want and we're not saying any of those. We're not saying you have to do things that you don't like. Didn't say that either. But a healthy sex life, yes. And there is true passion and love in it. Like that's a gift from God. Enjoy it. Okay. But we, at this time that caused division, like there was a time where I would avoid it. Like honestly, some men are going to be like, I knew it. Yes. I use sex as manipulation. I did.
Not
100%.
Used. She don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Or was the thing that no?
That was a thing there, that I used sex as a manipulation. So men, there you go. Yes, that happens sometimes. So
Well,
yes.
it happens a lot with, I would say, women. Well, you didn't do this. You did this today, or you haven't been doing this, and it's like, so no.
Or it's just like, well, I'm just going to do what I want. I don't really care. I'm literally going to use you. It's sorry. Like there was not emotions connected to a lot of times.
Which
A lot
I'm
of
not
times
gonna complain about, like, I mean, I'm okay with feeling used with that, but like,
now, but you
yeah,
gotta let's be honest. Like you could
yeah,
tell, like at that time, it was emotionless, and it got to a point
cold
on,
and
yeah,
calculated,
it
yeah,
was cold, calculated, and you could tell like it, and it was awkward at different times because if you had felt like you had lost control, or if you had found out about like me flirting or anything, it was like a way that you would try and establish a dominance, which would then I would be so livid because you would show up that way in like that performance. And so performance can be affected by the things going on. And we break down because we want our couples to have healthy sex lives where it is passion and love. It's not like, oh, I have to control you, and oh, I have to do this, and oh, like, no, like you want a healthy, passionate sex life.
yeah. But it was avoided as rejection a lot of the times for me.
Mhm.
I didn't even, I got to the point where it's like it's such a like a I don't know, performance type stuff, anxiety. That was some of it later, but like more of like a rejection type thing. Like I just didn't want to ask. It was like almost like better not to ask and just avoid it than actually just get rejected. And so I would find myself like trying to do all these things and nice things to like kind of, it was just ridiculous. And so another one was just forced mechanical. And then I would say one more thing that here, the resentment and a lot of the fear and rejection and stuff that built up over time, it ended up feeling just very like just emotionless
Mhm.
and disconnected at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you could tell like there was not. And after the affairs, like when we were, you know, trying to recommit and fix things, it was disgusting. And I remember just throwing up. Like it was I didn't want to have sex at that time. Like I would just go throw up. And like I was completely revolted by him and by like the thought of being intimate. Literally landed me in the bathroom every time.
Yep, that and also like us when it comes down to it, like I would just my whole time I'm just, especially after the affairs and stuff like that, I'm just thinking, well, like was this person better? Was this? Was that? All that stuff, and I'm like, or whether they were like, did she like more with him or whatever? And I'm just like, constant. I couldn't even enjoy it. It was just like I was just like had this like all these things replaying in my head and like stop thinking, and then but it's just and then you're like trying to get into it, but then you're repulsed, and so there was crying during all this stuff during after that, and it was just ridiculous.
It causes a lot of division. So you can see there was a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, and a lot of division, even in the physical intimacy of our marriage. And again, did it start there? No. We went from couple who literally had a reputation from all the teachers and students who were like, oh, yeah, that couple, the PDA couple. Like, that's what we were pretty much known for. And then to that, like, that's so it's not like, hey, this is where we started, and that happens a lot of time. So another thing that causes division in that split in intimacy that is really common is number 6 is like we stopped feeling safe during conflict. And I can't really say like I ever felt safe during conflict for me personally. Just I felt like conflict in general was unsafe. That really came from my background of, conflict in general isn't safe. Like the men's going to lose their mind. There's going to be yelling. There's going to be screaming. There's going to be like a massive blow up if there's any kind of conflict. And so I didn't like conflict at all, but I stopped sharing anything that I did disagree with, especially as events started to take place. And I was like, see, it didn't matter. And so I just formed that belief of like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It basically boiled down to we would just avoid things at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day with conflict. Conflict was completely avoided a lot of the times. Number 7.
Well, before you move on past that, I just want to add one more, and it's another belief that ended up coming up was like I'd rather keep the peace. It's better for me to shut up and just keep my opinion to myself to quote unquote keep the peace. And at the time, that's what we truly believed. But I have to bust that bubble and let you know like that's not peace. That is conflict avoidance, and that bitterness and resentment that you're stacking up as you're shoving down emotions or numbing out to is not causing peace. it's causing division and it's costing you the very thing that you actually want. So avoidance doesn't build intimacy.
Yeah, and no, we don't believe in the whole avoidant attachment styles and all this other stuff.
No.
Like we just believe people are people. But we don't believe in labels here. Now, another area is we would stop expressing things. So we'd stop expressing our wants, desires, our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, because let's be honest, like it was just treated as an annoyance and like, I don't care and cool, whatever. We're not doing that. You know, what we wanted out of life and those areas, it just didn't matter to each other, to be fair.
Yeah, we just honestly stopped expressing anything. Like, hey, I don't want affection, or I want attention, or I want help. It was like, nope, I'll do it myself. And so we see this a lot in couples where they start out real good, strong, like, you know, they're this couple, and then they really grow together where they're doing everything together. Their friends are together, they're together, and then they end up growing apart. And it's like, well, then they do nothing. And it's like they're living two separate lives. And this is essentially where we got to, and this is stopping expressing, because like we would not express anything. And nope. And that led to number 8, causing that division, is holding on to the resentment. So all of these
This one
things,
was a big one.
all of it was held on to. And this is where if you have resentment and bitterness, it's unforgiveness. Don't try and tell me that you have forgiven your spouse or forgiven people in your life while you're hanging on to bitterness and resentment. They cannot go hand in hand. If you have forgiveness, you do not have bitterness or resentment. So at this point, like I was like, I forgive him. You know, I forgive him for the tattoo. I forgive him for, you know, breaking all his promises. I forgive him for, you know, I forgive him for the affair. And did I really, at the subconscious, deepest level of me? No. I would say it because I knew it was the right thing. But this is the difference between having knowledge and information and actually having it applied and a part of who you are, walking it out in your identity.
Yeah, and there's different types of forgiveness. Like there's forgiveness that you have to go to the courts of heaven for and forgive these things, which you haven't done that. It's still in the books. And then also in the other aspect of things, like if you still bring these things up in every fight or a lot of times, then you haven't forgiven. Or if you still have those feelings like she was talking about. But realistically, when it comes down to it, these are all areas that, you know, if you bring ammunition to fights or if you're avoiding it altogether, then that's not okay. Nope. Right? It needs to be addressed the right way. And so you usually got 2 different types of people in these types of situations. One that wanted to talk about it and deal with it over and over and over again.
Right now, I gotta fix it now.
Yeah, which is not okay either. But in as long as it's done the right way, it's okay to talk about things. But you know, the problem is that you got one person is wanting to talk about it, one person is not wanting to talk about it. And what I will say with this is neither one's necessarily wrong, 100%. So she didn't want to talk about it because it just was over and over and over again talking about the same thing. But then on the other side, it was like, well, it's not clearly solved, right? So. And both sides are true. Both sides are okay. Like, but the thing is like, you got to understand, like the real root is not going to be how you communicated or if you talked about it and then you're moving on. Like, no, it's, and you're not supposed to get over it. Like, if you don't do it right, you won't get over it.
No.
It'll just be a wound for all of time.
And that's why, like, well, just get over it. Like, you don't do that. And if something's coming back up, it means that you don't feel heard and there's still deeper things attached to that. And so part of that resentment, another way you can tell if you're holding on to that resentment is if you're keeping score. If you have a scorecard of, I do this, this, and this around the house, and I do this, this, and this, and I'm the one who goes to work and I pay the bills and they only do this, that's a scorecard. I cooked dinner 3 times, they haven't, or I went to the grocery store so many times that they didn't. That's keeping score. So when you are keeping score, you are literally making your spouse an enemy. Like, you're like, hey, it's you against me. And you have to earn. And it puts it into like, I have to earn love and acceptance. I have to earn these things. I have to earn this relationship. And that's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And so this was the next one of the big one. What number 9 is like, we stopped appreciating each other. And it's like, man, you got these gurus out there that are like, well, you just stop showing appreciation. If you just show appreciation, you focus on their positives instead of all their flaws, then everything will be fixed. No, it won't.
I tried that tactic.
It won't fix. It's not that we tried it once and it was like, oh, oops, I tried it. Okay, cool. Moving on. Like this was this was stuff we tried for a long time. And here's the truth about this. This does not work. This does not work. It's a good thing to do it by itself in the essence of like, if you already are healthy, like, yes, you should be showing appreciation. If you already have built all the right foundation, sure. But if you haven't, this isn't going to work.
It's not going to fix it. Now, should you appreciate each other? Yes. Should you look for admiration in each other? Yes. Should you show gratitude? Yes. We're not saying not to do those things. We're just saying that alone isn't going to fix a marriage. It's just not.
Yeah,
so it's just the extra thing that's going to help bring good things in. But for us, like, this is one of the multitude of reasons that our intimacy had that massive disconnection. It was because we did stop appreciating each other, and we stopped looking for things that were good. The compliments stopped. Effort went unnoticed. And honestly, I got more focused on what did you not do? So I didn't care what he did do. I was like, well, what did you not do? And then, heaven forbid, if you haven't been doing anything, and I'm just going to speak to the men for a minute, it's a huge pet peeve of mine. If you haven't been helping out around the house, don't go do the dishes or the laundry once or cook dinner once or help with the kid once and be like, look what I did. I don't care. My comment to that is, good job. You want a cookie? Like, what do you want? Like, you want a golden sticker? Like, congratulations. And so don't do something.
You like golden stickers.
I do like stickers. But don't go do something and then do it out of a reason of, hey, I'm doing this for appreciation and praise. Okay, so now I have more work to do. Now I have to be like, oh, good job. I'm so appreciative. Wow, you're such a hero for doing this thing that I do day in and day out every day. And you might have cooked once, and I cook 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and you cooked once this week. Okay, cool. And it's like, wow, okay. So really, when we do help out our spouse, when we are helping and being a teammate, it's not saying, hey, see me, appreciate me.
Well, it's so this goes back to the whole people pleasing thing. It's like trying to, and realistically, like, so it really annoys me when you see those people on the internet, they take their phone and they're like, look, homeless person, do you want some money? Like, everyone I'm doing on the internet, stop that crap all over there. I hate that. Like, do it and don't let anybody know about it. Do it because it's who you are versus you need attention for it. And you're just thirsty for attention, basically. Another one, when it comes down to it, is number 10, which we really like, we're never a team, but like at all until, like, obviously we fixed things, but we really stopped altogether trying to be a team. Let's put it that way.
We stopped. Like, we thought we were at that time, and we were doing our best to be a team. Like, we, and I remember, like, we had made some decisions. Like, we moved cross country early in our marriage. Like, we moved a few times, like, early in our marriage, and doing different things. And like, Tommy and I were not always in this awful place and like this stupid couple. Y'all's comments about me is hilarious. Like, we weren't always like the stupid couple and, all the other things that y'all say about me. And, there was a time like where we were starting, and it was, our heart was really, hey, we want to be a team. We want to be united. I did want to break all the generational patterns of the divorce in my family, right? I did want to be faithful. I didn't want to be an alcoholic, like what I had seen growing up. Like, I didn't want to do those things. And, so we did talk about decisions. We did, we even prayed about decisions, and we had already started personal development real early in our marriage. And so we had already started this journey, but it just goes to show that, just reading some books and having the heart and the desire doesn't mean you're going to create it.
Yeah. Also, just because you go to church and pray about things doesn't mean it's going to go the way you want it to either. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Christians that have gotten divorced that have pray together, stay together thing. No, it doesn't.
And we were in church, and we had been in church since like we were dating. Like, and Tommy has attested to before that if it wasn't for going to church with me, he might have left the church, like left his relationship with Christ altogether. And so that was something that we had really started as a team, like the desire and the heart. But then through all of the resentment, it's like I stopped trying to be a team with Tommy. And it was like, oh, no, I don't trust you. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm just going to do things my own way. And I know better anyways. So I'm just going to do my way.
Yeah. And we were realistically, we got to a point where we were just roommates.
Very, very much so.
Just roommates. And sometimes honestly, I mean, she would probably say even less than that. To be fair, she'd call it like a body in the house type thing. But But
You
like,
were a burden. I would say, because like I would say that because like if you weren't a roommate because you didn't contribute,
yeah, a roommate would have like
a roommate would have paid
it's still somewhat of
things,
a team.
would have helped like pick up, would have been like cooking and stuff, and I did all of that. So we weren't even roommates really, but most certainly not teammates at that time.
No. Now, we also built walls, speaking of those types of things, around finances.
Oh
And
yeah.
so that was a big, now I know not everybody has this area as a big issue, but this was definitely a big area with us. Money became an area of fear and control and pressure and secrecy. Definitely her hiding money and a lot of resentment that built up from her end to my end, rightfully so. But it just was a very horrendous area that we had a lot of issues in. Now it's good. We don't have issues.
Uh, so
It's fine.
my
In fact,
comment
I lead with finances now.
my comment on finances from my point of view is, there was, because I grew up on two different sides. I saw, nothing on one side, having to live on bare basics, spaghetti, hamburger helper, and beanie weenies. And that, if you know what beanie weenies is, please drop in the chat just because it's going to be entertaining for me. A lot of people don't. And then on the other side, like jet skis, four wheelers, like all the toys, whatever you want, go out to eat. You want that? Let's pull out some cash. And so it grew up on both sides, but I had fear around money already. And I always had this desire, like I wanted Tommy to provide. Like I didn't want to have to be the one who worked and provided and, took that burden on. And then the more we led into that and every failure Tommy had in business and like put
And
the burden,
jobs too, yeah.
yeah, in business and jobs, like the more resentment I would build on my side. And it wasn't intentional. And I was wanting to be the good wife and I was being supportive as much as I could, but that didn't change the internal things going on.
Yep.
And it did get to the point of fear, like, because it's not that there was like, oh my gosh, a love of money, like money, worship money. But guys, like, you do need finances in the world to pay things. And if you want things,
God knows that. And like you do have to have fun. It's just the way the money, it's the way the world works. But when it comes down to it,
I wanted to share a little bit more on that part is why I built the walls around finances is because I did have fear because it was a necessity and I had seen what happens if you didn't have it. And so that is where I was like, I had then picked up, well, I can't trust him. So I'm just going to have to do it. And I can only count on me. I can't count on him. I'm going to have to carry the weight. All the weight's on my shoulders. It's all up to me. And I would 100% hide money. And I would just stash money so that I would forget about it. So if I got in a pickle, I could find money. And that's what I would do. And so then it got to the point also if I didn't trust him. Like when we were in like talking the divorce and he's like, well, I'm going to divorce you. I'm like, you're not getting my money because you like, no, like it was at the time it was my money. And so I would pull out at the time like a lot of the money and just hide it, put it up. Because I'm like, if it's not counted for, the government can't tell me I have to split it with you because it's not accounted for. Like, again, not the way to go. Don't do that. But that's just where we were. And now we're not like that. But that was a huge dividing point because I was so fearful and I carried that burden because Tommy didn't carry the burden about, and it was a major impact into the intimacy because if I'm laying awake at night, like just praying, like, how am I going to pay for things? How am I going to buy the kids, diapers and like whatever they need? And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. And I'm carrying all that weight. I didn't feel like a team. And it honestly made me like resent him even stronger in those times.
yeah. And here's the thing, like with finances, I'll tell you this, just as a side note, finances is the easiest thing to fix. Pretty much by far, if you actually just implement systems once you're fixed in the marriage. Once, because the real issue isn't the finances, it's other things. Like, so yeah, finances is a super easy fix once you actually fix things the right way. But we also built walls through parenting. So for me personally, even though we had little kids at the time, like, I felt like it was her, the kids against me.
Oh, and he let me know that all the time. This is another one of those things that he couldn't share with me because I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, well, my job is to protect them and you're a big baby. So like, what do you want? Like, I don't know. You can share more on your side, but that's where I was. Am I there now? No. Is it the kids and I against Tommy now? No. But at the time, and I didn't even care if he expressed that. I was like, well, I don't care. Like,
Well,
what do you want?
I know. At one point, this was like towards later on, like when we were actually like thinking about divorce and all those types of things. Not that we didn't think about it early on. That was pretty much like always like kind of a threat. But regardless, it was really serious later on. So it got like to a definite point where like, well, it'd be easier just to be done. But with the actual like statements she said like, well, yeah, the kids are always going to come first over you, which it's obviously not true anymore, but it was true then.
And it's honestly not the correct order of priorities. And I do understand that there is a different mindset of safety and, hey, I have to care for this kid as there's different ages, right? So babies and toddlers do take more attention and time, but they don't come before your spouse or your own self-care. But are they going to require extra safety and oversight from you? Yes, absolutely. Yep. But this is an area that's really been twisted, but that the belief systems built around that is really causes a lot of division, and then the kids continue. And we hear a lot of people say that, once the kids came, which by the way, you think about what that does to the kids, like these innocent little babies coming in and being blamed for the division when it's like, no, like they were never the dividing point. They're highlighting so much deeper things that are what's going on, and it's not their fault.
Yeah, well, the thing is like people get this wrong on two different levels. One, they're just priorities. You got one side of it, their priorities are all screwed up, and they're just like me last, everyone else first, and the kids first, all those types of things. Then you got the other side of it, and people say like, oh, I know. You don't know, or else your life would be different. But like when it comes down to it, you got that side, and you got this side of like people like, well, I see the stupid post on Facebook. It's like, God first, and then husband, and then then after that, it's like the wife. And then the kids, but that's not how it works. That is incorrect, 100% for the most part. Because if you get one thing wrong, you'll get all of it wrong. And so like the correct way to actually do correct priorities, this is the only correct way to do this. And I will say that and stand on that line. The only way, it is God first, then you in a self-care way, no matter if I'm talking to the husband or the wife, God first, then you in a self-care way, not selfish, but self-care. Then, of course, your marriage and your spouse, then kids, then business, work, purpose, then extended family and friends. That is the only correct way. I will stand on that to the end of time.
Yep. And this is where but people don't understand self-care. We're not diving into that today. Like that's misconstrued all the time as well. And so that's why there's so many different beliefs about that.
It's not chocolate cake and bubble baths.
Yeah, it's not. But parenting was a huge division. And this is one of the very common things. And if you look around our society today, you will see that most people idolize their kids. I am ultimately repulsed and disgusted at how many marriages revolve around their kids. Their kids are their idols. The whole life revolves around the kids. And your kid will move out. Kids, I don't care if there's 1 or 20. I don't know. Anyways, they're going to move out at one point. They're going to move out. And then it's going to be you and your spouse. What are you going to do then? So many people go through these quote unquote midlife crisis, and it's not when their kid moves out, but it's because they have made their kid an idol in their entire life. And so at that point, they're actually terrified to be alone with their spouse, which is awful. Think about how many years you just wasted and lost out on with your spouse if you're scared to be alone with them.
I'm going to say something that's going to hurt some feelings, and I don't care. I've heard men tell me on the phone, I'm like, oh, does she put herself last and everyone else first? Like a lot of the times the kids, and she's like, oh yeah, she's a phenomenal mother. I'm like, no, she's not. She's a horrible mother, actually, because if she puts herself in the wrong priorities, then she may be good to the kids, great to the kids, in the essence of that part of being a mother. But if you're teaching your kids that you should put yourself last and everyone else first and never take care of yourself, that is not good role modeling.
No. And men, same way, because we see it equally. Like there's men who like their whole life revolves around their kid.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Equally,
it's just more often women. But.
Yeah, equally not. And so, like, do we believe that you should support your kids? Yes. Challenge them? Yes. Pour into them? Yes. But they are your kids. They are for you to disciple. They're not your friends. They are for you to disciple and for you to raise up as God has created them to. And so you want to model a healthy marriage. So a good parent shows them what healthy relationships is, starting with themselves. Hey, how do you love yourself? How do you have healthy boundaries? How do you say no? How do you also have delayed gratification? So all these parents that are just like, you're annoying me. Please shut up. Take this. Like, right? Like, that's not good parenting. Like, it's not teaching your kids. But I understand where it comes from, and my heart breaks for that. But we can no longer excuse these things and just make excuses for them. Like, so I'm gonna call it out, because the other day, like, I was walking through the mall and I was utterly repulsed by the amount of people that were walking through just disconnected. And so this is a huge thing that causes a disconnection and intimacy, and it was a part of ours. And phones were new. They didn't even do anything. I don't even know what you were doing on your phone. Like, it didn't do anything at the time. Like, there wasn't even like internet, really. Maybe that's why, because it took forever to load. But it's like 30 minutes to load a screen. Anyways, but like, walking through the mall and everyone's just like, that steals away intimacy. People aren't knowing how to have a connection. So
yeah. Another area is actually going to be spiritual intimacy. So this is an area that actually hurt a lot, but we stopped praying together, and we didn't really pray together effectively, but still, like, either way, we stopped altogether. There's different. We prayed together good enough at that point. What we knew, we do our best what we knew. And so it was very awkward, not only to pray together, but also very awkward in church, because we would get in a fight almost. It was like a routine, like on the way to church.
Okay, you got to drop in the chat if you're the ones, like, because it was totally us. It's like, we're gonna go to church, and we're gonna fight in there, and then we're gonna come out of church. We're gonna get in the parking lot, and we're gonna end up fighting again. We're gonna take different things from the sermon, and we're gonna be like, see, did you hear him? Did you hear what he said? And if we're gonna end up fighting.
Well, it didn't even have to do. It didn't have to.
Sometimes
do the sermon all the time. It was just, we would figure out how to fight sometimes. It was just like, it didn't matter what it was. And so that was a lot of the case. I did not lead.
Sorry. Can you just like remember back when we would walk into church? It was like we just fought the whole way, and then we walk into church and we're like, hi. And it was like such the fake.
It's ridiculous.
It just made me think of that, because it's like we had such a mask on for that.
Yeah. And so that's not normal, just so you know. It's not acceptable to be. It may be normal in society, but it's not what's supposed to be normal.
And it's not healthy, and it's not the only way. Yeah. It's just what has been excused. So this is time for us to rise up and stop making it acceptable to live a life that God didn't design for you.
Yeah. Another one, number 14, is we stopped like really sharing any personal struggles. So whether it was like addictions to pornography, insecurities, temptations, mistakes, emotional struggles, like where we thought they were at, what they were doing, or like, hey, you made me feel this way, or made me feel that way. Like, we stopped doing all those things. We would hide even small things. Like I would even hide and it was even stupid things. Like, I found myself lying about just dumb things that they shouldn't even been a lie. Like, it wouldn't even been a big deal if it was said.
No, 100%. And on me, like, I know that there was personal struggles. I wasn't eating right. I didn't have a good like body image. Like, I looked great because I didn't eat. I ate Cheerios and chips, and I drank. And so like, it was just like starving my body. Not healthy by any means, but a lot of these struggles, like, I did hide. Like, people didn't know. And what's funny is like, people I was around almost daily didn't know like these types of struggles. Like, they just thought it was funny I had a box of Cheerios in my car. Like, they didn't realize that's about all I ate. It was like handfuls of that throughout the day. And that, I was drinking by noon, and I would be drinking till night. Like, people didn't know those sorts of things. Or anything along those lines, or when I felt like I was passed over. And earlier, even before it got to that point, like, I stopped sharing struggles about, like the finances, like I was talking about, or the atmosphere that I was working in, because the atmosphere I was working in was incredibly toxic. It was awful. I should have never been in that environment. But there was such a fear of not having enough finances that I stayed there. And
fear of what people thought too.
Yeah.
There was both.
There was so much there. And I will say that, like, God will reward you for, not being in a healthy, like, in an unhealthy place. So I 100% look back, and I'm like, if I would have left, God would have rewarded me and blessed me for that, for not staying in that environment.
Yeah. And the reality of it is people try to like justify all these things and like, well, it's just business. It's just this. It's just that. And it's like, dude, like, no, no, no. Stop chipping away your own character.
Yeah.
Like, stop making excuses. And so, also another area that we had issues in. Oh, well, actually, I want to touch on one more thing here. So, it got to a point for me, and probably for her, but for me for sure, like it got to a point where I would just avoid conversations because, or trying to, I would try to manage emotions basically to prevent her from getting angry and then going off and probably cheating or talking or flirting at the very minimum with someone. And so, it was just a way to get back. And then if I thought she was doing that, I would like justify looking at pornography and stuff like that. And so it just wasn't okay at
No,
the end of the day.
it really wasn't. And there was so many, so let's hit on 15, and then I want to say like one of the most big, like another big one that I see is most common. So number 15 is like we did stop dreaming together. I would say that was a big one. Like there was, early in our marriage and even when our kids were babies, like we were still like dreaming, talking about like how these goals that we had, these different desires. And then as time gone on, honestly, when he shared a dream with me, it just really made me irritated. I was madder than
You could tell.
I hated him sharing. I was like, okay, great. So that's something that you want me to do? Because at that time it was just, I felt like I did everything and I felt like everything was on me. And I was like, okay, so that you want me to produce that for you too? Like, what about what I want? I don't want to work on that. And there was such a division. And so we stopped dreaming completely together.
Yeah. And I built up a lot of resentment because like naturally I am obviously an entrepreneur at the core of things. Like that's not my identity, but I am definitely designed like that by God. I am not designed to work for other people. If you are, cool, that's not me. And so when it comes down to it, I always had this like dreaming, like I was a visionary. Like and I still am. I always had this like ability to like want more, have more, do more, and have more out of life, and like have these dreams and aspirations, and honestly a lot of great ideas too, and some bad ones. But regardless, either way, I was like, well, you don't support me in my dreams and visions. Like, that was like, then that obviously drove a lot more bitterness and resentment in the relationship.
Because I was like, what do you think I've been doing? And I work and I do all of these things to support you and be the good wife. And then so when he was like, you're not, I was like, let's be real. I was like, what are you, stupid? Like, do you not realize all that I've been doing? And obviously there was a lot of really unchoice words along with those things, but that was the nicest underlying principle. And I had put with my dreams, like I had put myself behind Tommy and the kids, and everything was all about, well, Tommy's dream. If you asked me my dream, I would tell you Tommy's dream because I didn't have any, or I would tell you things about the kids. But it got to a breaking point. And this is one of those other midlife crises that people are like, oh, it's a midlife crisis. No, it's identity crisis because you started, like you didn't know who you were. And so I got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to focus on me. I'm just going to do me. I don't really care what you do. I'm only going to do what I want to do. I'm looking at me.
Well, a lot of things you got to understand is like at the end of the day, what we experienced was, if you bullet and sum it up, the way we felt was we didn't feel safe. We didn't feel heard, valued, wanted. We didn't ever feel like things would change, and it felt hopeless. Yep. So like at the end of the day, I mean, there's not going to be a lot of intimacy and connection out of that when that's the way you feel.
And I want to say, like, one of the biggest things that I see that is common in our society that also really causes hurt and division, but is normalized and made acceptable, is the comparison and the flirting and the like having lustful eyes and looking up porn and talking and like the OnlyFans. All of that causes so much division and intimacy. And it doesn't matter if your spouse is like, I don't care, or even if they do it too. There has never been a couple that we've worked with that even when they both have done it or done it together or used it to quote unquote increase their intimacy, which it didn't, because it never does. It always causes
bring so much demonic activity into your house. Oh my gosh.
Not only does it bring demonic activity, it actually causes so much hurt and division in y'all's intimacy as well. We've never seen it actually ignite intimacy, right? But our society has normalized, oh, men just look at that. No. Men just do that. Oh, men, it's only online. It's not real people. First of all, most of it is real people. And two, it doesn't matter. You are literally giving yourself to, like that's what you, and then one of the other things that happens a lot too is like people will look at either other people in real life or online in porn and then go to their spouse and be like, oh, let's have sex. Right. And the spouse feels used. They feel like a body and they feel like, hey, you're not even thinking about me. I'm unwanted. You're judging me. I'm not enough for you. And it causes so much division. Yep. And that stacks up into the bitterness and the resentment. So that is a huge intimacy killer. And that includes the flirtatious and the comments and, looking at even the, yes, there's people who dress provocative. There's even, there's men who dress and show like you got the cowboy ones, the firefighter ones, like those are some of the stigmas that will walk around in jeans without shirts on and like do all like the types of poses and all of that types of stuff and trying to get that attention from females.
Both sides do it.
Yeah, both sides do it. And so when you're commenting on that and you're idolizing those things and you're focusing on that, you're literally desiring that and telling your spouse that, hey, like they're not the only one. You don't only have eyes for them, that you don't love and cherish and have an honor for the covenant that you made with them. It's like, oh, open marriage. And an open marriage says, hey, that, you're no one special. I have nothing here that I just share with you. I give everything to the world because intimacy, like especially physical intimacy, is supposed to be between you and your spouse. It's supposed to be between you and one person only.
Yeah. And what I will say with this, so if you're, we help either side, men or women with this, but if you're struggling with pornography and lustful thoughts, one, you don't have to struggle with it. You don't grit through it. There is actually a system that I developed called an addiction freedom formula that is now combined with deliverance from demons too. And if you want to get rid of that permanently, like never have that desire again, just reach out.
Yeah, so. It's honestly, it's a super easy thing. And when you eliminate all of these things, actual true intimacy becomes amazing.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't know how. Like insanely impossible if you don't know how.
And we fell back into that because we both had watched it at different times. And that was a stronghold at one point for us. But no, like Tommy doesn't look at it. Tommy doesn't. I don't. And we have so many men who don't look at that. So many women who don't look at that. So don't tell me it's just men do that. No, they don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure, a lot of men do it. Mm-hmm. Like, because it's set by the enemy to create bondage from such a young age, and a lot of it's even predetermined by epigenetics and stuff. That when it like comes into it, it's already on them from their bloodline and stuff, from demonic activity and stuff. So, like, but you can get rid of it. You can break that, and you can get rid of it as a guy, and then your sons and all that can get rid of it, and you can just prevent it from here on out. Right? Yeah. You don't have to keep that. Now, people make their own decisions, sure, but realistically, a lot of this stuff is injected early to allow other things to come in through the bloodline. It's more of an entry gate for a lot of demonic activity. But some pitfalls that we did, and we'll discuss one giant one that you don't want to make. The first one, though, is going to be we did more around the house, thinking that was going to fix it.
Well, you did more around the house thinking it would fix it.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. I did more around the house, honeydews type stuff. Which realistically, I'm not the best at that, but
it made me angrier. And I was like, what's the point of you doing it? Like, you don't even do it right. And don't give me, well, at least he tried. No. I'm like, if you're going to sweep, at least learn how to sweep. That means you have to get into the corners and get under the cabinets because all that food and hair under there does matter.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, regardless of doing it right, that's more of a preference thing. But like, there is a standard at which you should operate at, sure.
Yes.
And, a level of, standards.
That was more of, I felt like you didn't have standards or a care. I thought it was like okay, I slept.
I legit tried to sweep.
And I
just still suck at sweeping. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it's not something I try to get good at. It's okay.
And then I just thought he was more incompetent, but it made me angrier.
Or loading people focus on stuff like this, but like loading the dishwasher, stuff like that.
I didn't care about that one as much.
But we would make a list. I would make a list of things to do. Then I would do them. And that's not going to fix things either. Like, make it a list, make it a routine, trying to get better at things, trying to make getting a date night in place. That is not going to fix intimacy.
Okay. You know that you guys have gone out on a date. First of all, you probably thought about where you were going to go. You probably went to a place one of you didn't want to actually go to. And then, so someone's short, something is said at dinner, a comment is made. and you guys didn't really enjoy dinner anyways. It was awkward. Probably someone wanted to be on their phone. If they weren't on their phone, you fought at some point, and it was just like awkward. It was tense. It wasn't this super sweet connection point. I cannot tell you how many people like we mentor that are like, vacations suck. They like, we fight and on vacations. They just ruin every experience. And I used to feel that way about Tommy. I was like, man, I was like, you're a fun sucker.
Yeah,
But not now.
Even if, in theory, it went absolutely perfect or near perfect, because you got those outliers be like, oh, well, we did great. Cool. It still didn't fix anything. It's not ever going to.
And don't lie. Someone is suppressing because
Yeah,
someone is just trying to quote unquote keep peace and make happy.
It's funny when I talk to both sides of it, but yeah.
And so the dates, the trips, and the vacations do not increase that intimacy, right?
Yeah,
Now,
even adult trips, like just with you to each other. Like,
I mean, they can be fun, but that's not going to fix everything.
no.
It didn't break, like, even our, like, we tried all of these, right? And so our adult trip, it was fun. But let's be real, like, it was still awkward. And I was still drinking way too much because I didn't really want to be around you. And then, didn't trust who you were actually looking at, who you actually were thinking about. And I didn't trust you still. And so there was still a huge division in all these levels of intimacy. We were just in a cool place. And so I was drinking to tolerate you to enjoy the place.
Yep.
Like, at least I'm honest about it.
Yeah. Another one is like trying the whole Proverbs 31 woman thing. This is a typical thing for a lot of women, especially Christian based.
This one drives me crazy, right? This one, I'll have to do a whole episode just on the Proverbs 31 woman, but that whole just being a good wife, being a submissive wife, work harder. Women, okay, most of the women that I mentor, are, like most, not all of them, some of them, I have both sides, but a lot of them are fiery, and they're like, I already do so much. I carry the weight on my shoulder, all the weight on my shoulders. I hold everything together. If I stop doing it, the world's going to collapse. That's a lot of like the position they come in. So when you add Proverbs 31 woman, it's like, okay, so now I need to suppress myself more, cheer you on more, do more. And it's like, at some point, I feel like I'm going to break. And I really just dislike you even more because you just added so much more to my plate. And that is the mindset behind just doing more. And that's why just doing more isn't correct. And there's also a huge misunderstanding in this of that you're supposed to follow your husband if they're making wrong choices. Oh, well, my husband wants me to have a threesome, so I should just do what my husband wants. No.
Yeah, no, but even if your husband's not leading effectively and he's not even like doing what he's supposed to, if he can't lead himself, much less lead the marriage, much less lead their family, like if he's not doing anything, no, you should not submit to him. No, I'm telling you, no, right now, you should never submit to someone that's not. Why would you submit to unhealthy leadership? What are you wanting the boat to crash into an iceberg? Like, stop, don't do that.
There is things to do, and it's not do more, and it's not continue to carry all the weight on your shoulders. But another one we would try is spontaneous things, and I'm going to be real, that was more up my alley, and he would disappoint me. And so that just added more division because it was just still awkward, and it didn't remove the hurt of anything, and it didn't lower any of the walls between us. It was all of these are surface level fixes where even some of the trips that we did have a great time. We're not saying that the whole time, like our whole previous marriage was like awful. Our whole previous marriage to each other was awful. That's not what we're saying, because we've only been married to each other. I don't want no one to twist that there. But what we're saying is like all of these are surface level fixes, and they might give you a temporary emotional high, but then you're going to crash.
Yeah. And so the thing is like, also, I will say a lot of couples, even though we were broke at the time, a lot of couples like that do have money, or maybe one of you has money, the main provider, but then, you provide for your whole family. But either way, you're doing really well financially. People can like use trips and all these things and toys and all this stuff in relationships to mask basically, we're doing good. No, you just have suppressed things. It's like the same thing as like diving into your phone or something like that. It's not really you're healthy. It's just all these things and fancy, nice things.
It's like buying love.
Yeah, basically, which eventually ends up numbing it and not good enough. Too, I've seen it.
And then someone leaves.
Yeah, but the biggest mistake that we made and that most people make is thinking that they're supposed to make their spouse happy and manage their emotions. Here, I'm going to tell you something right now. It is not your job to make your spouse happy. Ever. Ever.
Go ahead, drop it in the comments.
Ever. Ever. I hope the thing clips this. But it is never your job to make your spouse actually happy and manage their emotions. Ever. It is not your job. It is their own job to make themselves happy. Mm-hmm. Happiness does not come from external things. It comes from inward. Now, is there things that you can do to be nice and caring? Sure. But
should we do those? Yes.
I am not put here to make her happy, and she is not put here to make me happy. And that is not what we try to do anymore. And we are happier than most of the world.
And here's the thing is like, so people get this all twisted. Do we still do things for each other? Yes. But we do it because of love, like
and
because
who we are.
It's an overflow. It's an overflow of who we are. And we do it out of love. It's not a fear base. And it's also not a selfish base of, hey, I'm doing this for you to get something in return. It's not, hey, I'm loving you so that therefore you don't leave me. Again, if that's a fear base, it is a pure genuineness of who we are. And most people operate out of fear in their relationship and a selfishness in their relationship because they are terrified that their spouse is going to leave and they're in this, I have to earn love and approval state. And that is not where we're supposed to operate from. And the other thing with this is if you really could make your spouse happy, you would never be listening to marriage podcasts because your marriage would be phenomenal because they would be so happy. And in return, that would make you happy, right?
Why would you want to be in a think about it realistically? Think about it this way: do you really want to be in a relationship where you have to meet a certain quota of happiness, and whatever that means, or else it doesn't go well? That's called unconditional love. Sorry. That's called conditional love, is what I meant to say. That's called conditional love. That's not unconditional love, and so that's not how it's supposed to go. That's performance-based relationships. That's not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy at all. And so when it comes down to it, you may say, well, I don't do it. I just do it out of the genuineness of my heart. Sure, you might be that one outlier that does it, but most likely, I'm like 100% sure, most likely you're not. Because that's the same. I've seen that we've had clients that say that, oh, I just do it out of the kindness of my heart. Oh, really? Well, I trick them. I'm like, well, when you make them happy and you do this out of the kindness of genuineness in your heart, what does it do for you? It has to do something for you. What does it do for you? Oh, it makes me happy. It gives me joy, right? Okay, well, what does joy really mean to you? Right? What do you really, when you say joy, right? So in other words, you're using them to get your own happiness and joy out of it. It's not real true happiness. It's using, right? It's not real effective.
And most of the time, it's not just the joy. It's underlying when you dive deep into it. It's they have a fear of being left, a fear of being unloved. And so they're doing it to make sure that they are loved and wanted and needed so that they aren't left. It's a control thing. And so we see it all the time. And those are some big things. But this is such a common thing of I have to make them happy. And this is where I have to walk on eggshells come from and all these sorts of things. And that is, all of those are lies. There is nothing, I cannot make Tommy happy. If Tommy has stuff going on in his own world, I cannot make him happy through that. Can I add value? Can I add some humor? Can I add some laughter? Can I add some support? Can I be there? 100%. But him choosing to be happy is a Tommy thing.
Yeah. And so what I meant was not just joy. I was struggling to get deeper at that moment, when I was talking about that, but what I meant was it's like, okay, well, what does joy mean? What does joy do for you? What does happiness do for you? Well, it makes you feel what? I feel good enough. I feel like I'm doing a good job. I feel like, oh, so you still feel good enough. Okay. So in other words, you don't feel good enough unless you make them happy. So in order to make them happy, in order for me to feel good enough, I need to make them happy. So I don't do that from a place of I need to feel good enough. I do that from a place of I'm already good enough. And I'm just doing it because out of the true genuineness of my heart of who I am, my identity. I don't need anything in return.
And so when you show up like that, and besides, if we're in a performance-based relationship, if my job was to make Tommy happy, that means that anytime that I have a personal struggle, or heaven forbid, there was a sickness or an accident, which I did face an accident that I couldn't walk a year of, when I injured my knee. And so if something was to happen like that and I couldn't do all XYZ things, are they going to leave me then? Right? That's a performance performance-based relationship. And I know so many people that live in fear of like, what if I get sick? What if I get injured? What if I can't do this anymore? Are they going to leave me? That is
I've seen it happen.
awful. And yeah, and it's awful.
I've seen it happen. People get left when they all of a sudden have cancer.
Why would you want to have a relationship that's built on a performance-based thing? Like, no, you want unconditional love, and that's the covenant in a healthy marriage, right? Like, so whatever is going on between Tommy and I, like, it's unconditional love, and I don't try and make him quote unquote happy. Do I do things that add value? Do I do things that I think would, make him laugh? Yeah, of course. And because I really love his dimples, and so I will do things to try and get those dimples to pop out. But even then, like, it's going to be determined by him.
Yeah, so remember this. Walls go up, intimacy and trust go down. Walls go down, intimacy and trust go up. And don't go to your spouse right now and say, take down your walls. That's your problem. No, like, dude, no. You shouldn't
have to respect
We actually
someone's
tell we've had couples ask us, like, well, should we just take down our walls and trust them? No, you shouldn't just trust them. You shouldn't just trust your spouse because of your spouse. You shouldn't just trust them because of who they are. You shouldn't just trust them because they've been transparent and vulnerable with you with things. No, like, there should be, the way trust is truly built is through an actual new character being built, not through their habits, through actually getting to deeper beliefs and truly transforming who they really are at the core of it. Growth. That is how trust is really built. A real depth of growth.
Yes. And so trust, like, it doesn't need to be built back, but it's not, I'm just going to trust you. That's one of the dumbest things that you can do, is to set yourself up to fail, is just trust. Yeah. And so you don't want to just drop all your walls either.
Yeah, but the thing is like, when it comes down to this, like, people think, oh, the spark left. The spark never left. It's always been there. Like, the connection has always been there.
It's still there.
It's still there. It's just, it's covered up by a bunch of walls. And so when you how you get rid of the walls is actually by getting to everything we talked about before, by getting to the deeper beliefs, correct mindsets, doing all the deep work, all of that amazing stuff. But you have that. These are the most common mistakes that people actually make when they try to get in the areas that they try to do when they try to fix the relationship.
Yeah, and it's important to be aware of this, because otherwise you can turn to an affair and be like, oh, we just are connected. We just have this spark. And it's like, no, you just haven't done life together, and there's no walls yet. They'll get there, and it'll be worse because of everything that you're also bringing in. So it's not about changing out the person either, but it is important to be aware, because when people live by my emotions, I just don't feel that spark. I just don't feel in love. Well, first of all, that tells me you don't understand what actual love is. Love is a choice. It's not just a feeling. Is there a feeling too? Yeah. Do I get excited when I see Tommy? Yeah. Some days. No, some days I'm not excited about much of anything. I have my own, I'm in deep problem solving mode in my mind and just different things. But overall, yes, the spark is excitement. Our relationship has passion. So everything we shared with you was things that we walked through. And now we're on this other side where we have a deeper intimacy and connection. And, so when people ask us, like, hey, is there secrets between you? No, there's not. There's not secrets. Like, do you actually like being around him? Yes. Do I want him to go places with me? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I want to spend time together? Actually, yes. Yes, I do. I actually like him, especially his dimples. I just think they're adorable. Yeah, but
so we couldn't, we really have a deeper love than what we ever had now than we've ever had. But the thing is we didn't get there, but the main point we wanted to highlight is all the things we tried to do to fix this, and the things we went through in the process of getting there.
Give you some hope.
And to help you understand, these are the mistakes that people make. And realistically, to truly fix this, you really need to have the deep work done. You really need to have the deeper beliefs worked on. You need to really truly have in a whole, all of it. Anybody that just gives you one little tip doesn't really know how to help you fix your marriage. I can't say they don't want to help you, because they probably do. They just aren't aware of truly what's going on at the core of things.
Or they don't mind if they set you up for failure. We don't want to set you up for failure on that, but we just wanted to give you insight, to give you hope and encouragement that no matter where your relationship is right now, there is hope for you. And there are things that you can do, but not to do more, but by becoming to live out a different lifestyle.
Yes, and I want to encourage you. So we've had clients that have been disconnected for 30 plus years that are now more in love than they've ever have. And honestly, in my maybe a little bit too much. Like, I mean, they're spending 6 hours on the phone a day, like high school sweethearts, like just met each other type of thing. And so like what the thing is, like you can have that, or maybe a variation of that. Maybe you don't want that much, but like maybe you want like a variation of that. You can have that, but you have to understand you have to get to the deep things.
You have to do the work.
So, but anyways, we want to inspire you to be like, hey, don't go down this path. You need to go down this path, but we love you. God loves you, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a good one. Bye.